Hello and welcome back to Minecraft Minuet. As you can see, we got some new friends with us. On the way back from the pirate ship adventure from last episode, I found these guys in a jungle. While I was in the jungle, I also picked up a few things, including jungle wood, cocoa beans, and bamboo. But today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be setting up a mob spawner. So we found that zombie spawner, I don't know, 1 or 2 episodes ago, and now we're going to go ahead and set that up as an actual XP farm. So I better go get it to my house so I don't die from zombies and stuff. But while we're doing all of that cool stuff with our new zombie spawner, we're also going to be talking about professional sports. Oh, creepers. Oh, creepers. I'm not really a professional sports kind of person. I don't watch a whole lot of sports. I definitely don't participate in professional sports. I play Minecraft. But some interesting things have happened over the past 2 years with sports that I think is, going to be interesting to talk about and think about over the next few months, especially since, things are supposed to be getting quote unquote back to normal with everything because people are getting their vaccines from COVID. So we're definitely going to go through kind of like what sports mean to society. I know that's a little bit of a weird one, but why do we even like sports and those kinds of things? And then we'll definitely talk about, you know, where the industry is going, where they're going to make up for their losses and those kinds of things. So yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. But now that we've put our parrots away, because I don't really want to risk them on something as risky as a zombie spawner, um, we need to figure out which way we're going. And then I'll cut back when I get there, because it doesn't really matter where it is on the map. We'll build it either way. Okay, here it is. Here's the spawner. Okay, so our inventory's already full. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna travel back to the house, and then let's put down one of these chests again because I don't actually want to lose anything. Let's put stuff we're gonna use to dig. Actually, I might need one of those. So let's put that back. That should be everything. Okay, so this is the space we gotta work with. We're gonna dig it out, of course. First thing I'm gonna do though is put a little bit of water here at the bottom. I wonder if we can make a bubble elevator to get back up and down. I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. Do we have a bucket of water? We do. So what we'll do is we'll just put a bucket of water here. And then work power up. And hopefully we just finish it all in one shot. Okay. Up, up, up. It's getting dark also, so I definitely want to get out of here and get back to the house and sleep. And then that way we can grab any materials we need or anything like that. So let's see here. I've also kind of forgotten how to make a zombie spawner into a... You know what? Since I probably will forget where this is, let's just do this. There we go. Now it should be pretty obvious. But I've kind of forgotten how to make it into an actual spawner, like XP farm. I know I have to dig out around it quite a bit, so that's what we'll do first. And then I'll get into the technicals of it. I do want a bubble elevator that's going to bring them down to one-hit wonders so that I'm not wasting a ton of time or energy swinging my sword. And I'm not wasting, if I have like a diamond sword with fortune or anything on it, I'm not wasting a bunch of the actual, I forget what it's called, endurance or durability of the actual weapon. So let's go ahead and empty our inventory real quick. see. What do we have going on here? I did, if you look over here, I'm trying to set up an enchanting table. It's all the way, like, good. I just don't have enough levels to do anything with it, so I needed 30 levels to get the best enchantments, so that's why we're setting this up. So now we've come full circle and we know exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Let's get a few more torches going. Eventually we'll take all these out, but for now... Oh, I do want a bunch of tinted glass, so I guess we should start cooking up some glass while we're away. That way it's ready for us when we come back. See, I can plan ahead and be a little bit smart sometimes. Let's take these potatoes out, put that in there. That's almost done, and we'll put another stack of sand in there. This can go in here. These can go in here. I don't really need 3 stacks of food on me. Okay. Those can stay. What did I do with my... I guess I left my crafting table down there. I don't know why. I lose more crafting tables than is reasonable. We gotta collect some more wood too. This is starting to become more of a hassle than I thought it was gonna be. So let me finish cleaning this all out, get everything sorted, and get some wood, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back at the spawner here, and I know I need to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 on every side to start with. And I'm just gonna start digging and see if that works, because what we're gonna do is probably on this side, we're gonna place a bunch of water, and as the zombies fall down, they're gonna kind of flow over to this side over here, and then over to one corner, and then we're gonna kind of shoot them up through a water like spout, and then over, drop them, and then they'll be at one hit, and we can go from there. Do I exactly know how to do this? No, but when it gets to that point, I'll try to look up a quick tutorial, and then that way, or I'll muddle around until I figure it out. That may not be the smartest way, because I might wind up ruining it and having to do a bunch of work and die a bunch of times, because once you get it dug out and there's dark areas, zombies start spawning, and once you start it up, if it doesn't work right, it can get a little bit messy trying to go back in there and fix it. So probably look up a tutorial if we, don't think that we're gonna get it on the first try. But anyways, to kind of start our speaking topic, I wanted to go over why we even really have sports and why people seem to be so invested with them in the first place. So if we go back in history and we look at almost every major civilization had a sport or event that people could go to. They could spend their time, their money, and their energy kind of rooting for their favorite people. I think the biggest example of this that everyone kind of knows of is gladiators. So when you think of gladiators, they were definitely the sportsmen of their time. Yeah, their job was a little bit more dangerous than the current sportsmen that we think of today, when they were going up against each other with deadly weapons and lions and tigers and bears, oh my. But they were that time era's champions. They were the people that you could root for, and you could have your favorites, and they maybe worked in teams, maybe didn't, but if you went to the arena whenever they had an event and you cheered for your favorite person, you became very invested in that gladiator. You would bet money on them and those kinds of things. So it became a very big part of everyday life, as far as, they gave the people something to cheer for, somebody to cheer for. And for the most part, our athletes today do something similar. They give the general population somebody to admire and look up to. They give an aspiration or goal to live up to. If you think about it, there's hundreds and thousands of children that think they're going to get into the NFL or the NBA or things like that. And it helps them to do better in school and in sports because they have something or somebody to look up to and a goal or aspiration to try to achieve. So, in those ways, sports are actually really great. Um, and they work towards, the benefit of all. Where sports are a little different than in the past is kind of the fame that goes along with them today. So yeah, gladiators were famous. Don't get me wrong. They probably really well known and notarized in their time, but they were also kind of prisoners of their time. So when we think about the difference, you got people nowadays that are being paid billions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars to play a game essentially. There is no real risk. Like, there's some risk of injury maybe, but a very, very low risk of death associated with a lot of the sports that we have today. And there's, just less kind of riding on it. And with them adding more rules and things to sports nowadays to try to protect players, which is a good thing, it kind of takes even more of that risk out of it. So we're no longer dealing with people who are risking their lives for their sport, but they're definitely still dedicated and doing a good job. Um, so that's kind of where sports lie. They give the general population who doesn't, necessarily play sports or do anything like that, they give them an outlet for aggression and enthusiasm and all those things. And they also provide, you know, something to look up to, somebody to look up to, goals and aspirations for people who are just starting out. So they're great. They do a good job. But I think that there's starting to be kind of a shift away from physical sports, um, just because they aren't as engaging as they used to be before. So when we're talking about, um, whether or not they're going to keep increasing rules that protect athletes but also make the game a little bit less interesting to watch, if we're looking for an outlet for aggression or outlet for excitement or expectation or anything like that, and we can't get it from the sport any longer, then we're going to go turn to something else. So if they keep making sports safer and safer and safer to the point where there's no real risk, there's no reason to watch your favorite athletes do what they do, then I think people will stop watching. I also think there's a level of habituation that goes into sports that has been disrupted in the past 2 years. And that's kind of why sports saw such a big hit but are continuing to see a hit in revenue, is because people who have been watching sports their whole life and they sat down every single Sunday and watched football, or they um, sat down every week, twice a week to watch basketball or any of those things, they would feed off the excitement of the other people who were watching it and, just kind of really be invested in it on a regular basis. And now that they've kind of lost that rhythm of being invested, it's going to be a little bit harder to get those people back into the seats and back onto their screens to watch these sports happen, because they're no longer habituized to do it. They're no longer in the habit of doing it. So it takes like 30 days. They say it takes like 30 days to start a new habit, or 30 times of doing something to start a new habit, but it only takes like 5 seconds to break a new habit. You miss it once or twice and all of a sudden it's gone. And you're not exactly as likely to start up that thing again. That's why it's so hard to start like an exercise routine or things like that. Well, I think the same goes with sports to some extent. Now that people are out of the habit of watching sports all the time, I don't know if it's going to be super easy for them to necessarily just get back into the swing of things and start watching sports again. So I think the sports industry can continue to see some decreased watching or attending for that reason. another area that might become a little bit of a problem for people who were into sports before is cost factor. So when you think about the industry and how much it's lost over the past year, they might be tempted to raise prices on games or make it more exclusive to watch the games on TV and those kinds of things. I think that'd be a great mistake because a lot of people are hurting monetarily right now. So if you were to raise the prices on sporting events and things like that, then you'd probably see even less people who are willing to go to a game or to even watch a game or stream a game because they don't necessarily have the extra money to spend. So they're just not going to be able to enjoy their favorite sports. And also, it kind of feels like a slap to the face um, when you think about it right now because, like I said, everyone's dealing with issues and changes in their monetary income. They want to turn to something to relieve stress and to, you know, let out aggression or show excitement and things like that. And if their favorite sports become more expensive, they no longer have that stress outlet. They're probably going to go to something else. And people have already, built up different habits over the past year, I do believe, that, again, are going to impact how much time they're willing to spend on something that they haven't been spending time on. Especially if the new habit that they have, they actually enjoy even more than the sports themselves. So maybe they became more active over the past year because of COVID. They decided to hit the gym, and now they kind of are doing the same things that their favorite athletes were doing, or at least as close as they can mimic them. So they don't really need that motivation from the athletes anymore. They have it. They are their own motivation, which is great. But it is going to continue to impact the sports industry and keep them kind of down a little bit further than what they were. Um, the next thing I wanted to talk about was kind of, you know, people going back to actual physical games. So I don't know about anybody else, but the idea of being crammed into a stadium with thousands and thousands of other people um, is not very appealing to me. It never has been. But the idea of doing it now is even less appealing because even though I'm vaccinated and, I know that some other people are also vaccinated, the idea of going through the risk of going into a space with that many people who may or may not be vaccinated is just a little much for me. So I think there are going to be some people that don't care. There's a lot of people that don't believe that COVID is a big deal anymore. Um, and they believe that it never really was a big deal. I can't quite, get behind that at all. But those kinds of people, of course, would not mind going to see their favorite team because they actually don't have any hesitation to doing it in the first place. They don't have any qualms about it. But I do. I do believe that COVID is serious. I do believe that there are still pretty high infection rates and that I definitely don't want the disease because not only is it a problem for the now, but it also seems to have some pretty gnarly side effects that last a long time. So it's not something I'm interested in. So even if I was a diehard fan of sports, I don't think that I would be interested in going to see any right now or in the near future. So getting people back to wanting to go to sports in a physical sense, I think is going to be very hard because there are going to still be those people like me that aren't interested in the risk. Now, could they overcome that with incentives and things? I'm sure they could. They could make it very, very, lucrative to go to a game. But I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if that's on their docket to do. We're just making an infinite water source real quick. I was looking for some water. And I finally found some. But I don't know how much they're planning on incentivizing people to come to games. If they're going to just rely on, you know, what they've had in the past as far as attendance goes, I don't know if that's going to be enough to incentivize some people like myself to go. I was never a big, proponent of going to games anyways, so I'm not really the target audience for games. But I would hope that there are still some people out there that were incentivized to go to games before that aren't now because they realize that there's a risk to their health and to other people's health. So if we look here, it looks like we're only going to be able to push people to right here. So let's see. So if we dig our trench right here. This is really inconvenient because it's like right over another area of the cave. So let's see. Okay, we actually need to dig down below this. Okay, let's see if that's enough. We just gotta see if it's gonna push me over the edge here. Yep, okay, we fell in. Good. So let's collect this water. Don't really need it yet. Bloop. And one more. Okay, and then we're gonna dig our whole trench right here. Oh, and there's another hole over here. Great. Okay, let's see. Can we use that hole? What if we just dropped them? We wouldn't even need a bubble elevator. We could literally just drop them into a hole. Yeah, but then we have to come all the way down here. I don't really want to come all the way down here every time. So no, we're not going to use this. I don't really know how to get down there. Is this just, there we go. That'll work. Okay. There we go. Oh, look at that, a zombie. Somewhere got dark enough to allow a zombie to spawn. Which is fine, that's what we want this to do eventually. But right now, I'm gonna go look up a tutorial because I'm not quite sure what to do after I fill up the holes and things here. Okay, so I'm back. So we're gonna go ahead and clean up this room a little bit and also start setting up the bubble elevator over on that wall over there. This one. We set up the trench because I was working off of a simpler design from before that doesn't use a bubble elevator, and it uses the water to push the trench, and then you just kind of kill them in this little trench, but we're just not going to do that. We're going to do something else instead. So I'm just going to fill up all the holes, but while we do that, we're going to go ahead and discuss our topic a little bit further. I did go ahead and turn off game sounds and music because I didn't want to have to fight with it later in editing. But while I was doing my research, I did focus on the NBA as far as looking at, what are they doing um, after the pandemic and what were their losses and those kinds of things, just because they had the most readily available information that was up to date. So they had an update that came out um, in at the end of June that kind of went over what their plans were and what the possibilities for the future after COVID looks like for the NBA. So just going by their numbers, what they reported, it showed the NBA had about a 10% decrease in revenue for the years 2019-2020. So they didn't make as much money in 2010-2020. And also they had they reported numbers with other professional sports. So somewhere in this 13 billion that they reported is losses that they had. So this is a little different than decrease in revenue. This is losses that they experienced, whether that's paying for teams to travel, for COVID tests, for isolation, hotels, all of those things that they had to include, those they counted as losses for the teams and for the NBA as a whole. So not only are they seeing a decrease in revenue, but they're also seeing an increase in costs out. So that's putting them in a little bit of a deficit for the 2019-2020 year. Now, is the NBA really hurting for money? No. They had an increase in sponsorships, about $1.7 billion increase in sponsorships from 2019 to 2020. So some of that money has been made back up. Also, when you're talking about how much they're paying these people to play a game where you run up and down a court and throw a ball at a hoop, you know, we're not talking about the same type of hurt that the average person is going through after COVID. You got to put this in perspective. It's a ball game. It's not necessarily something, you know, where they're not going to be able to fix this. As far as what they're going to do to try to make up for those losses in the coming years, um, because obviously if things were to continue the way they are, then that would become an issue. Um, Basketball would be seeing, problems where they'd have to start cutting pay on players. Once you start cutting pay on players, less people want to play. In theory, less people want to play. So then you get less quality players, and then the game becomes more boring, and then people don't want to watch, so then you lose money that way, and it becomes a vicious cycle where eventually no more NBA. I do understand that. So over the next few years, they do have a few things that they're trying to implement that may or may not help increase the people watching. So one of the first things that they were thinking about doing is, revamping some of the stadiums. I know that the one here in Orlando just got redone a little bit ago, so I doubt it's on the docket to be redone. But some of the other stadiums that are a little bit older and a little bit in disrepair, they're thinking about redoing those and adding new amenities so that when you come watch the games, you'll feel more, you know, pampered, and it'll be worth the money that you spent on the ticket to go watch the game because you're also getting these other things. I'm not quite sure what those are. I don't go to a lot of professional sports games. Maybe it's comfier seats, maybe it's more concessions, maybe it's better bathrooms. I'm not quite sure what you offer people at a sporting event besides those things, but they're going to try to revamp those stadiums. The next thing that's kind of on the docket for them to do is for them to go ahead and try to open up the league for more teams. So apparently there's been two cities, Las Vegas and another, that have been trying to get NBA teams for a while. But there's kind of a buy-in for the league that you have to pay as a city to get a team. And that buy-in is supposed to include, the cost of the stadium, the cost of getting, managers and people like that to get it started and to start paying players. And then when you do that, you get recognized by the NFL, and then they start scheduling you games, and they start helping you advertise, and you become part of the NFL and those kinds of things so that you actually, can participate in the league. That buy-in was very high in previous years, and those two cities, including Las Vegas, didn't have enough money or didn't see the benefit of investing that much money into getting a team. But post COVID, the league is apparently going to lower those prices, that buy in price, so that these two teams could possibly start up and become part of the league. They still get the same things, they still get the ability to be part of the league and get scheduled games and play against noted teams like the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat. And again, all the examples are going to be from Florida because that's all I know. But yeah, they'll be part of the leagues and it'll be less expensive for them. There is some downsides to this as far as the league is concerned. So there probably won't be a huge decrease in price because what they're afraid of is that they're going to be then spreading, what minimal revenue that they have now over two more teams. So people who would normally be fans of an adjacent state's team are now going to be fans of their state's team. Um, and therefore that revenue is going to kind of be split and it won't actually increase revenue at all. What they're hoping is that there's going to be some increase in new fans. So people who never had a loyalty to a team around them before may now be invested in a team that's closer to them or that they feel more loyalty to. Like if they've lived in Las Vegas their whole life, maybe they'll start to feel a little bit more loyalty towards a team that's from their area than from one that's from another state or another city. The other thing is they're hoping to build, you know, revenue from people who, now that there might be a game from their favorite team in their city because they're playing the new team, they're more likely to go to an event in person. So where they would normally just be sitting home watching their game, they're now going to go to the stadium and they're going to buy a ticket and maybe hot dogs and some popcorn and some drinks and maybe a bobblehead as a souvenir to take home. Like all of that increased revenue from someone who's already a loyal member of another team. And also people who've just never experienced a basketball game before, who don't have any loyalty to a team, but now there's one near them, so now they can go take a look at it and it won't be as expensive to them. So they're going to go check out the new team as well. So all of those things they're hoping to increase from the buy-in by lowering the price of the buy-in. And also, making their stadiums more, comfy, I guess, or newer, more updated. They're hoping that that brings some more people into. As far as incentives for actually going to a game, I haven't found any, listed on any websites or anything like that. So I'm sure prices of tickets may have gone down, but I didn't see anything where they're going to be offering, season passes for people who've bought some in the past, that want to go see the games and want to start seeing the games, but maybe just don't have the money right now. That would be a really good incentive to offer like a season pass. If you've ever bought one in the past, it's 20% off a season pass if you buy it this year. That would be a really simple and easy way to bring back loyal people and get them back in the habit of watching the games, especially if they go visit every home game. They spend $50 or $60, in concessions, and they take their grandkids, those kinds of things. So definitely, I think that would be a really easy way to bring people back to the stands. But I don't see anything like that, like I said, listed on any of the websites or in the few articles that I read about professional sports and their comebacks this year. So those are kind of just like the few options that I could see that they were offering for people as far as to bring them back to the sports. The next thing I want to talk about is what could take the place of professional sports if they don't make a good comeback, if they continue to see revenue loss over the next few years. So now that the shaft for the bubble elevator is dug out, we're gonna go ahead and kind of just dig out this room back here because this is gonna be, kind of the area where the zombies fall down and then we hit them and we collect all their goods and we collect all their experience. So in the other room, they fall down into the water, they go over to the wall, they go up the bubble elevator over 7 or 9 blocks, I can't remember, and then they fall down 24 blocks. And the 24 block fall brings them to, a one hit, what I call a one hit wonder, meaning that I only have to touch them one time with anything and they'll die. So we're just going to clean out this room real quick, and then I need to go place the, uh, what's it called? Seaweed? Kelp? I had to place kelp in the water of our, you know, bubble elevator so that it changes all of the water blocks to source blocks so that then all of the bubbles will filter up and, make it all the way to the top and push the zombies up that far. So we kind of dug this out a little bit, and we're going to go do that now. Okay, I grabbed the kelp, and up we go. While we're doing this, I wanted to go ahead and kind of go over, new opportunities for sports that aren't considered professional sports at this time. So while professional sports are having a quote unquote hard time, is there a chance for other sports that aren't as popular to then kind of make their way to mainstream um, television or into, instead of watching football or NBA, maybe you're watching this new sport that just came out? Or maybe didn't just come out, but just now became, you know, more, has more notoriety now. So some of the sports I'm talking about are, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, but there are like parkour championships um, that happen over in Europe, and that would be definitely something that I'd be willing to invest a little bit of time or money in watching because it's very interesting to watch these people chase each other around these super complex um, arenas. And there's like parkour tag and parkour championships. Something that's been happening in the United States recently that's very skill based and very interesting to watch is competition shows like Ninja Warrior. And that's definitely a sport. That's something that people that have to dedicate a lot of their time to, a lot of their energy to getting up the physicality necessary and being able to commit the time and energy necessary into training for this sport. So my hope is that not necessarily that professional sports continue to decline because that wouldn't be very nice of me, but maybe in this little area where there is not as much professional sports or they aren't as popular as they have been, that we see an increase in other sports that never would have gotten a chance before to reach the limelight. So things like Ninja Warrior, it's pretty big here in the United States, and has been getting bigger and bigger over the last few years, but maybe now it'll have even more of a breakthrough and become even more of a national pastime instead of baseball or basketball or football. So yeah, that's definitely, what I would like to see happen. Something good happen from something crappy like COVID. And then that way, we're not actually losing anything. We're actually gaining new things. And then as far as like sports as a whole, do we actually need professional sports in this day and age? I think, yeah, I think we still need them for the same reasons we needed them before, but I think they do need to morph a little bit and become, either go back a little bit and become more challenging so that it's more interesting for the average person to watch, or change and become different sports. So like Ninja Warrior, which is obviously has so much physicality that the average person would probably, like me, would never be able to accomplish something like that. So therefore, for me, it's very, very interesting to watch and almost like, oh my God, these people are superheroes. And I think that's where sports will always be part of society because when you think of athletes, they're people that they do things that you could not do on a normal daily basis, and therefore they become the kind of superheroes of our time and age, the real life ones, um, that are doing amazing things, feats of, um, physicality that you'd never be able to do. And there's different types of heroes. Don't get me wrong. There's your life-saving heroes like doctors and nurses and those kinds of things, but you also need someone you can just cheer for and fun. And I think sports will always hold that level of um, entertainment in the daily lives of people. So yeah, I definitely think sports are still good. I think that athletes are still something that we can look up to. Do they need to make some changes? Yes. And hopefully they don't continue to see a decline. But I don't know if they're going to come back to their full glory as they were before. They might, but definitely in my household, there's been a very strong decline in interest to watch sports and those kinds of things. So, there are other reasons for at least my family why that's true, including some political ones that I won't get into. But just as a habit, we don't watch them as often. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the speaking topic. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up our mob spawner, and then we'll call this episode quits. So right now, all I'm doing is placing the hoppers that will hopefully feed all of the items from our zombies into those chests, which we can then collect later. Um, let's see. So yep, they ride up this bubble elevator here, and there's one over here.
Okay, I forgot.
I I don't want to die. Let's see. Let's clear these guys out. They're not currently moving over right now because I don't have a source of water going all the way over. And I can't get back down this way. So let's see. If I fall down there, I'm probably going to die. So let's grab this source of water. And we're going to place it here. And then we'll fall down. I think I'm going to need a second bucket. I don't know if I have one. I had another one down here, and then I took it back to the house, and I don't think I have another one. So let's see. I don't have any iron either. Great.
No?
I don't have any iron in there. How can we do this?
Do a second.
I think I'll just have to go back to the house and get another bucket. So give me 1 second and I'll be back with a bucket as soon as I can. Okay, we're back with the second bucket, and now we're gonna go up our bubble elevator. Hopefully there's no zombies up here this time. And place down our water. That's the one we stole from last time, and this is the one that'll carry the zombies over here. Wait, I need to be able to get down. Okay, let's grab this water again. We're gonna place it over here. They're gonna let it fall for a second, quickly snatch it, place it back over here, and then fall down. And we should land in a cushion of water. Perfect. And we were able to complete it with 2 buckets. So let's go ahead and I guess the last thing we got to do is clear out the room over there of torches and stuff. Let's see. Just emptying my inventory. Never like to have it super full. Gotta close off this section over here. So we're gonna grab everything out of this bucket and grab this. There we go. Then we'll close up this wall and try to take down all of the torches. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick, and I'll just kind of speed through this part because it's not super interesting. Okay, now that that's all closed up, and you can see that the zombie spawner was indeed producing a lot of zombies, we should just have to wait a few seconds, and then zombies should start falling down through here. Ah, there they are. Yeah, I didn't close this off. Wait, wait 1 second. Okay, let's see here. Slabs it is. There we go. Let me fix this real quick. And we also need stone slabs on top of these hoppers. And also there's a space back there that there doesn't need to be, so we do need to fill that in as well. Okay, let's kill this guy. And then we're gonna have to crawl in there and fix some things. Okay, let me tweak this up a little bit and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, we did it. We're finally done. We built our mob spawner. You can just barely see all their little nasty arms back there. And I'm going to show you kind of how it works. So what we did, you saw, we went ahead and dug up a tunnel over here and filled it with water. The zombies kind of float over here and then they fall down here. As you can see, they turn a little bit red and they take quite a bit of damage. And then all we have to do is come up here and go whack. And look at that. Look at that. Instant XP. And then we collect all of their remains or droppers, stuff down here. So eventually this is just going to be full up with rotten flesh. Obviously a zombie spawner isn't like the best for drops. It's basically rotten flesh, maybe some iron, some shovels, and that kind of stuff. But it's mainly for XP. I mean, we went from 25 to 29 pretty quickly after we got this started. It does take a little bit of a lag time to kind of build up some zombies here, so I might go back in here and try to figure out what's going on. But just to kind of wrap up this episode, I am going to dig, through the wall here and replace it with tinted glass. So we have some glass here, and it's just glass and amethyst crystals that make the tinted glass. And we collected, in the meantime, we also collected a lot more of this. So we're just going to go shift, click. And that only gave us 40. Wow. So let's start here. I think I'm going to do it this high, just because I think it'll look pretty cool. And this is going to mess with spawn rates, so I want to get it done as soon as possible. The great thing about this tinted glass, this purpley looking glass, is that it lets us look in here without messing up the spawn rates, because light actually doesn't go through tinted glass like it does other glasses. So we can see everything and they can't see us, and there's no light transfer, which is great. So we have this. And really can't see anything in there anyways. I wonder if we did panes, whether we could see better. Let's see. I guess you can't make panes out of this. Nope. So we only have the tinted glass we can't use. We can't make panes. That's a little bit annoying. But, oh well. Still does let us see kind of what's going on in here. So we'll just replace all of this with the panes, or I mean the tinted glass, and then we'll be all set. So this wall will be solid tinted glass. We will do a little bit of sprucing up as far as this room goes, because right now it looks really quite bad. But for one day's worth of work and a few hours worth of work, it's not too bad. It's nice and carved out. We have a chest and a crafting table. Eventually we might move our enchanting setup down here. Just because we just hit, like, just now we hit level 30. It'd be nice to just run over here and grab some enchanting. I'm gonna close this off. Oops, need some light. But until then, it's just gonna have to stay kind of where it is, which is in the house. Ah, much better. Let's finish carving out the ceiling here. And that's basically it for this episode. We just wanted to talk a little bit about sports and where they were going, and also set up our spawner so that we would have a really quick and safe way of getting some XP, because our previous way of getting XP was to go to the Nether and try to deal with ghast and zombified piglins all at the same time, and it was getting a little dangerous, to be honest with you. So this is definitely much safer. They can't really hit me, which is great, and it's a very quick and easy way to get up to 30 levels so that we can start enchanting. Because our next step now is to finally get out of this armor, this silver stuff. It's not as attractive as I would want it to be, and it's not as protective as I would want it to be either. So in between the episodes, I'm going to go ahead and do some diamond mining. I'm going to try to get a fortune pickaxe first, but if I don't, then I'll just have to go ahead and go mining anyways and see if I can get enough diamonds. And then with our new spawner here, we can hopefully get up enough levels to just go ahead and enchant everything, which would be great. But anyways, like I said, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye!